Hey everyone, welcome to the latest Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Ruby, have a good weekend?
Yeah, I covered the Eagles game like you did. But
Well, we
yeah,
had Saturday. We were home.
yeah, I watched Liberty, see what their quarterback looked like. I wasn't that
Yeah,
impressed, but yeah, it was beautiful weather and got outside a lot Saturday. Did a little hiking, so yeah, it was good. It was a good weekend.
nice. Good. Yeah, the weather's beautiful right now. We have a lot to get to today. We
Yeah, I was
have,
disarmed there briefly because I'm not used to like pleasantries. Like we usually just kind of get right into
I know, normally like, all right, so cover two.
it.
We'll get to that in a minute, but we do want to talk about the offense, the Eagles offense, and if they found their identity or if this is unsustainable, what they've done the last couple of weeks with this heavy rushing attack. We'll talk about Jordan Howard a little bit and where he fits into this picture. And Jalen Hurts, as a runner, he's been pretty effective. And then we'll look at the defensive side of the ball and try to figure out what Jonathan Gannon's seeing and why they've played the way they've played and what they can do to fix it. But let's start with the offense because it seemed like they thought they knew what their identity was going to be earlier this season, and they were wrong. At least it looks like they were wrong. And it turns out their identity is like almost the exact opposite of what they tried to make it be.
Yeah, it's crazy. Through 7 games, Jalen Hurts had either run, thrown, or been sacked on 322 of 421 snaps, so 77%. They were averaging 39 pass plays per game and only 23 rushing plays. The last 2 games, 46 runs, 39 runs in the 2 games. So, yeah, it's a complete reversal, and not because they wanted to, just kind of because they had to. And, I don't, yes, if it's sustainable, and I don't think it is. They played 2 of the worst run defenses in the league the last 2 weeks. I don't know if Nick Sirianni is cut out to be that kind of guy that against, like you look at their next 2 opponents, Denver's number 10 in rush defense, Saints are number 1.
Yeah.
So is he the kind of guy that's going to really try to establish the run against a good run defense where maybe your first 5 carries go for 13 yards? Is he going to be the kind of coach that's like, we're going to stick with it. We're going to do what we do. We believe in running the ball. He doesn't strike me. I don't think that's really what he's all about as a coach. So I think, and honestly, I don't know if that's the best way to approach it. Now, I do think their talent. I mean, look, you got Miles, who is going to be back at some point in the next couple of weeks. You got Miles, you got Jordan Howard, you got Boston, and you got Gainwell. You got really good talent at that position. So it kind of makes sense to try to use your best players instead of at wide receiver. They don't have equivalent talent. But it takes pressure off Jalen. It makes better use of your personnel. I think it makes the O-line happy, controls the clock, keeps the defense off the field. A lot of good comes out of running, but and we've seen that over the last couple of weeks, 24 points and 44 the week before. But I just doesn't strike me as something they're going to all of a sudden, this is our philosophy. This is what we believe in. We want to try to run it 35 times a game. I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong. I think it's a philosophy born out of kind of necessity and circumstance, not really this is what we believe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And you made a good point that, the rushing, especially the Chargers, dead last coming into that game in rushing defense. So I think we even told people on this podcast, like, it's one thing to run against the Chargers. It's another thing to then continue to run against the teams they're going to face the rest of the way. And I don't even know if it's the best thing for them to be this heavy run. We talked about finding a balance. Balance is important the other way too. You have to, when your quarterback, what was Jalen, 11 for 17?
Yeah.
That's not a lot of throws. So and that's fine because it was their best recipe to try to win the previous game and it helped them win against the Lions, but they just need to have balance. And what your hope here is that at least Nick Sirianni saw that the run game can be effective and it can be a tool. So that maybe they'll never go all the way back to where they were earlier this year when it was just all passes and no runs. It's all about balance. And I think they have found some tools. Like, I think they can go under center at times. I think that it does. You mentioned some of the positives. The other positive I don't think you mentioned was for the offensive line.
I
It helps
did.
them. Did you? Okay. I mean, just going forward for the offensive line helps. It lets them dictate a little bit more than backpedaling all the time. So I think there are reasons to keep running. I don't think they're going to do it as much as they've done in the last 2 weeks, nor should they, really. I mean, I don't know if that's something that they can do every week.
And I do think this. I think running the ball 46 times was the best way to attack the Lions. I'm not so sure running 39 times was the best way to attack the Chargers. They had a banged up secondary, and so does Denver, by the way. They have banged up secondary, and so, like you said, I think it's almost like they took it too far to the extreme, and he was taking it too far to the other extreme earlier. And somewhere in the middle is where your offense should be. It shouldn't be 2-1 either way. Well, maybe 2-1, but it shouldn't be 3-1. It shouldn't be 75-25 either way. I think that you noticed in the Chargers game, the big runs weren't there as much later in the game because I think the Chargers were putting an extra guy in the box. They knew the Eagles wanted to run it, and all of a sudden those 6-7 yard runs were 3-4 yard runs. Now you have longer third downs, and they're harder to convert. So it's all about keeping that defense off balance. And when did they start really putting up points in that game Sunday? It was when Jalen was making some throws down the field in the fourth quarter in the second half. So
that 13 personnel drive worked.
Yeah, no, you're right. It did. And that's something, that I guess that was an unscouted look for them. But it's all about finding the right balance. And it's something that's been elusive, I think, throughout, other than like the Detroit game. It seemed like, look, just keep doing it. Where they have 236 rushing yards. Mm-hmm. Sunday against San Diego, I thought wherever they are now, LA, I felt like it was a little too much. It was a little out of kilter. Just because it wasn't going quite as well as the game went on. And I thought Jalen, the other part of it is the O-line can protect better when that defense isn't teeing off and when they know they're not throwing it, 48, 50 times a game. And I think Jalen's had pretty good protection when he has dropped back the last couple games. And you could see Sunday, when he had time and could set his feet, he was firing the ball down the field to Devontae. And that was really encouraging to see. So I think somewhere in the middle of what we've seen the last, the first 7 weeks and the last 2 weeks is ideal. I didn't think Sunday was ideal.
Yeah, it's funny. If you were to throw on tape from like week 2 and then watch this past game, it's a different offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely different. They were so heavy RPO early in the year. And it was like, I think I mentioned it maybe last week that it was like the Colts offense with some RPOs thrown in. They've changed. I don't know. We always talk about identity. I don't know what it is yet. And an important part of this is, the last couple of weeks, I think Jalen has played pretty well. And it was actually interesting. Shane Steichen was asked because he mentioned that Jalen's played well too. And he was asked, is that, a byproduct of him being asked to do less? And it probably is. But what do we talk about this year being the big goal? Evaluating Jalen Hurts and finding out if he's the quarterback. And I'm not saying Nick Sirianni should worry about this because he's got to worry about whatever he can do to win games. But what do you make of this from that standpoint? Are we able to really evaluate Jalen Hurts if this is the offense?
I think so because a couple of reasons. Number one, there's going to be games where he's going to be throwing 30, 35 times. They're going to be behind. I think we can count on that. And then he's going to have to throw. But also, we're able to evaluate his whole game. We're learning a lot about what kind of runner he is, just how effective he is. Something I think has gotten lost among some people. That's, people talk about his passing numbers and throw out the running number. You can't do that. It's all part of who he is as a player. Yeah. Who's going to evaluate Lamar Jackson and just ignore his? Now, the issue is throwing the ball and being accurate. I understand that, but to evaluate him, you need to see everything. I just think 8 games left. They're not going to be throwing 15, 18 times a game down the rest of the season. I think there'll be enough enough body of work, and I've been saying this since the spring. I think there'll be enough body of work to make that evaluation. But I do think Nick owes it to the team to put winning the game and doing everything he has to win the game. And if that means running it 50 times, he's got to put that ahead of let's put Jalen in this, 3rd and 11 and see how he does. I think the priority has to be winning the game. He owes it to the players and the franchise and the city. And we'll know. We'll have a pretty good body of work by the time this is over, no matter what that run pass ratio is.
Yeah, you keep saying we'll know, and I don't know if we'll know.
Yeah, I think we'll have a pretty good idea. I do. Okay. I do. But again, the flip side of that is it's not like the last game of the season. Like after that Dallas game ends, all right, we got to make a decision about our quarterback. A lot of that equation is going to be, these college kids, there's no slam dunk guy. I mean, you look at some of the top quarterbacks. I mean, are they going to be ahead of where Jalen Hurts is opening day 2022? And I'm not sure that's the case. So a lot's going to go into it. I think even if you're not sure about Jalen, look, they're not going to trade for Russell Wilson. Is not coming here. Aaron Rodgers is not coming here.
You try.
Sorry?
You try, right?
Yeah, I guess. I just don't – those things just don't happen, When's the last time a Super Bowl winning quarterback changed teams? Never mind, it's a joke. I just think those are long shots. I think as long as you kind of go in saying, look, Gardner Minshew, I think we know he's not the long-term answer. So if you have a chance to – and, I mean, I think we did our mock drafts. We kind of were on opposite sides of this. I had the Eagles taking 3 defensive players. You had them taking a quarterback and, up high. And I just think that there's a chance next year will be a continuation of the process. If you don't feel that strongly about one of the quarterbacks coming out, to use one of those 3 picks, when you can really bolster the defense, but you can change the whole nature of this defense if you get these picks right. Maybe just, I don't know. I keep going back and forth on all this, but the bottom line is it doesn't, the Dallas game is not necessarily, look, the evaluation's over. It could go on another year.
Yeah, it could. But which is, my point that I don't think there's going to be a clear-cut answer when this is said and done.
It's fair.
Yeah. And, but you did bring up a while back about his that was a winding road there, but you brought up Jalen Hurts' rushing ability. I think it's a good point because it is a big part of what he does. It's a part of what makes him a potentially special player, and I don't want to discount it. I think the reason it doesn't get talked about as much is because we know we can do that, and that's not to minimize it. It's a big weapon, and we've seen it the last 2 weeks, especially. Like he's converted on some huge 3rd downs with his legs, and it's not to minimize it, but we know we can do that. You know what I mean? It's like the other areas where we want to see improvement, and we have. I think we have seen improvement. The question is, like, have we seen enough to think that? But his rushing is a big deal, and I think he's actually, he's made some pretty good decisions when it comes to when to take off, and they're not all, like we talked about this before. Every decision he makes is going to be perfect. There are going to be times where, and it's the nature of the way he plays the position, that he's going to take off and you go, the pocket was clean. He should have stayed in there and thrown it. Your goal is to just, whatever the percentage is, you want him to make the right decision X% of times. He's not going to be 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, he made some throws Sunday. And I think it's pretty clear that his passing numbers have been better in the games where they have run the ball. And that's it's going to happen with any quarterback. I mean, if the more the offense is balanced and unpredictable, the easier it's going to be for any quarterback to stand back there and not have a defense, know what he's going to do and know what the play is. So, but that throw to Devontae, the touchdown, for everybody who says he can't throw the ball, can he throw it consistently enough to be a winning quarterback, starting quarterback in the league? I don't know yet, but he can throw the football. That was a great throw and a great catch. and a great read to understand what the defense was trying to do there. And, it was the blitz that they were running and what his options were. And, so to me, it's not a matter of can he throw the ball. He can throw the ball. It's a matter of can he do it consistently enough.
Yeah. And that's the biggest question about him in general is, can he consistently be a good enough thrower? At times he has shown that. At other times he's missed the mark. And we talked about it after the game. I want to bring it up one more time. I'm really impressed by how accountable he is, because he played really well in that second half, and all he was thinking about were the two throws he missed in the first half. And they were big throws. They were throws that if he makes them, it's probably a different game. But I appreciate him standing up there and bringing him up on his own. I wasn't asked about those plays.
No, you're right. You're right. He was asked about the.
I messed up these two throws.
Yeah. And Devontae tried to take him off the hook by saying he slipped on his pattern, which he did. I like that. And, quarterbacks, I mean, you watch other games and every quarterback misses a throw. And, it's like he's not the only quarterback he's just doing it a little more than he should, a little more than some other quarterbacks.
And they're magnified when he's throwing 17 times now.
Exactly. That's exactly true. The Goddard one, and we talked about this after the game, but I mean, he was under tremendous pressure and he didn't, he couldn't set his feet. And he just missed him. I slowed that play down a couple of times. I mean, the ball was off Goddard's hands. I mean, he got his hands on it. So
it would have been a spectacular catch.
And it's not a catch that you expect a tight end. Maybe Kelsey makes it. There's not many tight ends who can make. I mean, it's not a tight end ball. But the Devontae one, that was just a bad miss. I kind of put the Goddard one in a separate category because of the pressure he was under. But the Devontae
I agree. The Devontae one, actually, we had some interesting insight from Nick Sirianni. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but Sirianni basically said they expected an extra rusher on that play based on their film study. That's normally where the Chargers would send an extra man. So they expected to have 5 blocking 6, which when they practiced that play, that's kind of what they anticipated. And that was kind of the instruction Hurts went to the line with, was that he's basically going to have to retreat and buy himself enough time to throw with a man in his face. And then it ends up looking awful because they don't send 6. They have hat for hat, and he's retreating. In that split second, it's tough, but Hurts has to recognize it and then step into the throw. He didn't. He was still thinking about what they'd seen on tape, and that's a tough thing to get over because you go in expecting one thing and get another. But as much as that explanation makes sense, it's still a throw he needs to make.
Yeah, no question about it. Score big with the AAA Eagles MVP membership, along with superb roadside assistance and discounts we've all come to expect from AAA. Get exclusive Eagles-related perks. For all the details, visit AAA.com/Eagles.
Rube, we had a chance to talk to Jonathan Gannon on Tuesday. The numbers are ugly against his defense. 5 of the last 7 quarterbacks throwing over 80%.
And only 8 in franchise history before the last 7 games. So 8 in 80-something years and 5 in 7 weeks. And the game has changed.
Yeah, and sure. if that's the argument that the game has changed, that's fine. But at your suggestion, I looked up those 5 quarterbacks, and what they've done against other teams this year. And I think we agree all 5 are pretty good quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, I just combined them, Derek Carr and Justin Herbert, all very good quarterbacks, but nowhere near what they did against the Eagles and the rest of the league. I mean, Dak
about 10% higher, right?
Yeah, Dak was at 68% against the rest of the league, which is very good. He's the highest of this other group. But Mahomes at just under 64%, Brady's around 65%, Carr's around 65%, Herbert's around 63, 64%, and all these guys were above 80. So, they're good quarterbacks.
Was 73.
Yeah.
And it didn't put up any points, but even in a bad quarterback having a bad game was still over 70. So, yeah.
And look, in this game, I thought Gannon did blitz more. there was some more pressure. It looks like he's starting to adjust a little bit, but they need to press more outside. Like the off coverage, when and the big argument from the defensive line while they're not getting home is the quarterbacks are getting the ball out fast. Well, I would too if I know you have a good defensive line and the cornerbacks are 9 yards off. It's logical they're going to get the ball out fast. You have to adjust. You have to be ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they face some good quarterbacks, but like you said, they've all been 10 to 15% above. They're not giving up big plays, but if you're giving up a lot of medium plays, it doesn't matter. I think having TJ Edwards in there has helped as far as tackling and trying to get the short gain and the stop. They did that for most of the game, I thought Sunday, but then, at the end, the fourth quarter, they didn't. It's a tough way to win. I mean, you got to be perfect tackling team, and you got to be really good on third down, and they're just not those things. So I don't know what option. I don't think there's a ton of options. They don't really have a good blitzer. I think TJ might be their best blitzer. Roddy's okay.
No, they have guys who can blitz. And look, I think blitzing on occasion would help. I don't think not blitzing is their biggest problem.
No, I don't either. But also, they finished that game with, a bunch of, Slay was out and Maddox was out. Maddox came back in a little bit, but then left the game again. Not making excuses. I don't know what options he has, honestly. I don't know with their personnel.
Play press man. Even with that personnel. In that situation, like when we're talking, if you're talking about the last drive of the game, if you get beat, you get beat. And they score, and then you get the ball back.
So letting them score faster is the answer. So
it's better than the alternative. It's better than letting them bleed the clock, kick a game-winning field goal.
They converted 2 fourth downs. They converted 2 tough fourth downs that they barely got.
First downs because you were playing so passively on first and second and third down.
I guess. I guess. I just don't know if they have and I think people are letting the D-line off the hook too. I think that's my biggest problem is that they're just not, quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball quick, but other teams are getting sacks. The Eagles they've been held without a sack in 3 of their last 4 games for only the 3rd time in franchise history.
I agree. I think it all works hand in hand. I agree with you. The defensive line needs to play better, but the line and your coverage is tied.
It is, and they're married. That's the big phrase now. They're
I don't
married.
Like that.
I don't like that either. I'm not happy with that one. But you have this rookie defensive coordinator who's just kind of learning on the job and finding his way. You have this secondary with Andre Sacheret and Zach McPherson and Marcus Epps, and you have this defensive line with Derek Barnett, who's a high first round pick. Josh Sweat, who just got a big contract. Fletcher Cox, who, people talk about as a Hall of Famer, and they can't get any pressure. And there's a lot of plays where the quarterback's standing in the pocket and he's not getting pressured. Justin Herbert didn't get touched. The only quarterback hit was the one on, was it Anthony Harrison? He got a penalty for going in low. It's the only time they touched him.
Was that Nelson or Harris? It was Nelson.
Yeah, it might have been Nelson, but yeah, I think it was. But I think it's everything. I think it's all those things. But I just think it's oversimplistic to say, well, the D line can't get pressure because quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball quick. 3 of the last 4 games, they don't have a sack, and there's a lot of plays where the quarterbacks are not getting rid of the ball quick, where they're standing there, they're blocking Fletch one-on-one, and nobody can get near the quarterback. So I just don't want to let them off the hook.
Yeah, no, and I certainly don't either. They haven't played as well as they need to play. They have to lead. They have to be the unit. They have to be the best unit on the field for this defense to be successful. And when they are, they win. What they did in Detroit. That was a big reason why they won that game. So,
and I made the mistake of thinking they'd turn some kind of corner. Especially because the Chargers' own line was not particularly highly regarded. They got some injuries. They got some young guys there, and they couldn't get close to Herbert.
Yeah, but it, like we said, it's tied, it's married, whatever you want to say. But I understand Gannon's philosophy that you don't want to get beat on big plays. Theoretically, that makes plenty of sense. And he said it today. So the easiest way to get beat is to get the ball thrown over top. Fair enough. I get it. But you have to change things if it's not working. Right?
Yeah,
like
if it changes, then and you start getting beat over the top, then what? I just don't know if they have the personnel and to play any of these schemes and stop really good quarterbacks.
That whenever we talk about this stuff, we should always mention that the personnel is a problem, and that's really where it starts. They don't have enough good players, but Gannon's got to figure out what works with the guys he has, and I actually think he has decent corners. They got injured in the last game, fair enough, but they have pretty good corners. Slay's a pretty good press man corner. Nelson's pretty good. Avante's pretty good. Like, sometimes they're going to be put in tough situations, and you got to trust them to make the play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
But here's the good news for the Eagles defense. I wrote down in front of me here the quarterbacks they're going to face the rest of the season. The good ones are gone. They're not really going to face another good quarterback or, an elite quarterback until the last week of the season when they'll see Dak, and who knows if they'll even see Dak. You're looking at Teddy Bridgewater this week, who is very accurate. He's accurate. He's okay. He's not, he is what he is. Trevor Siemian, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, then Washington, probably Heineke, or Les Fitzpatrick's back, Daniel Jones, then Heineke. I mean, in a way, that's almost like a problem because Gannon went through that stretch of tough quarterbacks without ever figuring out how to slow one down. And now we're not going to see him get a chance at another one. Yeah, it's good for the Eagles. It's good for the Eagles because they're not going to face a good quarterback. But in watching him devise a defense, I want to see him figure out a better plan against a quarterback of that caliber.
Well, in the playoffs, you'll see that. Depending on the matchup and what their seed is. What are you drinking there? Lemonade?
Lemonade.
Interesting. Did you brew it?
No. It's one of those little like squeeze guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of a lemonade day.
I think I was like chopping up lemons before this.
I thought maybe you were. It seemed. You made your own salmon the other night. Apparently it was pretty good. I didn't get offered any.
I did the salmon in the air fryer.
Yeah,
it was a first for that. It came out real good.
Yeah. What were we talking about?
Quarterback play.
I think that's fair. But I think also the challenge is, like if Teddy Bridgewater puts up 33 points and completes 80% of his passes, then we're all in big trouble. If Taylor Heineke goes 31 for 36 for 288 yards, we're all in trouble. So, we'll find out over the next few weeks whether it was solely really good quarterbacks getting really hot or, if this whole thing is just a train wreck or both.
Yeah, I suspect that they're going to look better against weaker competition.
They look good against Matt Ryan. They look good against Jimmy Garoppolo. Defensively, they look good against Sam Darnold. And those are the guys you'd think they'd look good against. And Jared Goff. They played great in those 4 games. And those are Matt Ryan 5 years ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago was a Pro Bowler, Super Bowl.
That's why, like, if they play like that against these quarterbacks down the stretch, these offenses down the stretch, by the end of the year, we might think, oh, Gannon, pretty good. It's funny how the recency bias changes, but I'm looking at Prescott, Mahomes, Brady, Carr, Herbert, and they did whatever they wanted, and they're good quarterbacks, but they don't do that against other teams. So,
yeah. No, it's interesting. If that does happen, it's a positive. I'm not convinced it will, but I guess we'll go into the offseason not really knowing, but I guess if that does happen, you have to be a little encouraged, but we won't really know.
It'll be the recency bias. In a way, this schedule is like set up to make Eagles fans feel better about the coaching staff after the year because these are winnable games. down the stretch.
They got to win them, though.
They got to win them. You're right. And nothing's a given. Obviously, with a team that's 3-6, we're talking about winning, rattling off wins here, and that nothing is a given. But it does set up that way. It sets up to be like, oh, all right, they're coming around.
Giants twice, Washington twice, Jets, 5-game stretch. How many games do they win?
At least 3.
I mean, to me, 3 or 4 is a big difference. Like, they're not going to win all 5. They'll slip up somewhere in there, but I think they'll win at least 3. So is it 3 or is it 4? I think they go 4-1 in those 5.
Where's the loss?
I think the loss is one of the Washington games.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Fitz
plays,
plays,
I'm trying to get inside information on our predictions because Dave and I are tied at 8-1 on top of the heap. We left injured by the wayside. We'll give him grief on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We got a long way to go here. So
I don't want to get a taunting penalty on predictions.
All right, can we jump the gun? Do the read, then we'll talk about taunting. Do the read and then taunting.
At Nissan, we just made your choice for a new car an easier one than ever with our most exciting and fuel-efficient lineup. The choice is yours. Get great offers across our full line. Shop at your local Nissan store today at nissanusa.com.
I was so mad on Monday night watching that game. And if you guys didn't see it, the taunting is out of control. It's stupid. And I don't know why the NFL thought this was a good idea. I get that in some extreme cases, taunting is a penalty and you can throw the flag, but it can't decide games.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful. And
I mean, Marsh looked at the other sideline. He looked at them.
Yeah. If anything, I thought he'd get.
Then he got hip checked by Tony Correnti.
I thought he was going to get a penalty for walking into it, the ref. But it's awful. And I mean, to me,
Correnti backed it up on him.
Taunting's part of sports. Like taunting and like have personality. I mean, that's the league wants guys to have personality. You watch their ads. I mean, that's what they show. They show players trash talking and having personality and showing who they really are. And, they want guys mic'd up so you can kind of hear that. I mean, that's all what taunting is. And now they're penalizing guys for being what the league wants them to be. It's so hypocritical to me. I mean, when I played like Little League baseball and American Legion baseball and all that stuff, I mean, that's all we did was trash talk and taunt the other players. That was fun. It's part of sports. That's how we were raised. So I hate to see it legislated. I don't even blame the refs because they're just calling what they're evaluated based on how they interpret the rules. They're not making up the rules. I hate it. I hate that those things have to get called. And
Correnti stinks though.
Yeah, he does. He does. But it's awful. I mean, there are extreme cases, I guess. I mean, if a guy goes onto the other team's sideline or something and gets in the guy's face, maybe, but a guy just walking off the field.
Yeah. You're worried about it escalating, and that's why it's a penalty at all. Like you're worried about it erupting and causing fine. But a little bit is okay. Like you have to give the referees some ability to legislate it on their own and not ruin a game because of it.
Yeah.
It's just annoying
to
me.
Yeah, I hate it. And hopefully it's one of those things where they realize that they're embarrassing themselves and they get rid of it after the season. Okay. Who's on the competition? Big Red's still on the competition committee, right?
Yeah, Rich McKay is still the Falcons president. Rich McKay is still the president, I believe, of competition.
Yeah, his number. Committee. We should text him. We can.
You know what's funny? Rich McKay probably sick of me because every time they have these league meetings, I'm chasing him around asking about the jersey rules. When I won't have to do it anymore, they finally changed that rule, but because the Kelly green and the helmet and all that, probably getting sick of me for a while. But
what person's cell phone number do you have that would really surprise people?
Like a famous person?
I don't know. I
don't know if there's anyone surprising. Some, athletes that I think you'd anticipate. I don't think I have anyone who's like, outside of the sports world.
Ben's got Denzel Washington's cell. Our producer.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good one. How about you, Ruby? Anyone with the music scene that would? I don't really have anyone outside of sports.
Pretty much.
And the guys in sports I have, you would think I'd have.
Yeah, I mean, nobody really famous. Elton John. No, I don't really have his cell. I have some of his sheet music, but I'll have to think about that. I mean, like Randall Cunningham, does that count?
Well, sports. He's in that's not surprising to me that you have Randall Cunningham's number. You covered him.
Yeah. Is he still with the Raiders? He was like their chaplain last year.
Don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Speaking of former Eagles, we did want to mention Mike Pitts. We lost Mike Pitts over the weekend.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what day that wasn't announced, but just 61 years old. Really sad. And just, so many members of that Eagles defense from the late 80s and early 90s that we've lost, Reggie and Jerome and Wes Hopkins and Todd Bell and Andre Waters, Mike Pitts, all young, all too young. And Buddy, a couple of years ago, Mike Pitts was, it was such a locker room of personalities, and I mean, Reggie and Seth and Eric Allen and Wes and Andre, Keith Byers, Keith Jackson. There were so many just boisterous, colorful personalities. And the two guys that were really super quiet were Clyde Simmons and Mike Pitts. And Mike was just, we would go up and interview him because everyone else was interviewing the other guys just to get like a one-on-one. He was just a gentleman, but on the field, he was a ferocious competitor. The guy had 50 sacks as an interior lineman.
He gets so overshadowed because of obviously the guys you mentioned, but he was good.
Yeah. And, he was a high pick. He was a first-round pick with the Falcons in '83, and the Eagles traded Greg Brown for him. Greg Brown had played for Marion Campbell, who was then the Falcons head coach. And so he got here for his fifth year. He was here 6 years. So he was here for that whole run of Buddy in the first couple of years of Kotite, and then finished up with Parcells in New England, finished his career, played 12 years. Just a class act. And everybody in that locker room, there were a lot of guys that would get into trouble and, kind of Mike Pitts.
Not that team.
I want to be careful what I say, but, there are guys who lived on the edge, and Mike Pitts was just rock solid. And just a really good player. I mean, Pitts, Golick, and Jerome, the interior line, and then Andy Harmon came in. But Mike had a really good run. 50 sacks as an interior defensive lineman is a lot. I mean, Fletcher's got 55, so just as a comparison. And Mike was, solid against the run. And he was a full-time starter on that 91 defense that some people think is the greatest defense ever. Allowed 221 yards per game, which is the lowest since the 74 Steelers. And both of them were coached by Bud Carson, which tells you a lot about Bud. So, yeah, it's so tragic. And, we talked to Seth about this, who obviously is on our pregame and postgame show on game days. So many guys on that team have died.
We talked to Golick about it, too, on this podcast.
Yeah, we did. And Golick, Mike tweeted about Mike Pitts and just what a great teammate, great friend he was. Mike tweeted last night about him. So it's a big loss. And it's just sad to see how many guys from that team or those teams, late 80s, early 90s, aren't with us anymore. So rest in peace to Mike and, peace to his family and friends.
If you enjoyed the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. We'll be back with you later in the week with Ray Didinger to get ready for the Broncos game. For Rube, I'm Dave. We'll talk to you soon.